growing up in Hawaii, kind of contrary to belief, we didn't spend much time around the ocean, or I actually have never had, I don't think I have any pictures. I've never been to the beach with my family. I've got a brother that won't even go in the ocean. So we were always kind of in the mountains, doing trail riding or camping, helping people ranch and then going to rodeos. So it was always horses for me.
Living life, living right. If you want to ride with me, you better hold on tight. All right. Forecast is calling for wild rides. The forecast is calling for the wild rides.
My dad was the president of the horse club there in Hilo, Hawaii, and I just grew up doing horses. And kind of the house rule, or my dad's rule, was if you did horses, you weren't allowed to do other sports. So it was kind of, we were always in horses. It was like if you had animals, you had to take care of them, and that was your priority. So actually growing up, I was all horses, rodeo and everything till about intermediate. My closest brother graduated, and then I quit horses. So all through 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I just played basketball, baseball, and actually was into paintball a lot. And didn't touch a horse hardly for those 2 or 3 years. And then my freshman year of high school, I kind of just decided, I think I'm going to go back to horses. And started high school rodeoing. At that point, I obviously was pretty tall. Played basketball, okay, and my dad was a big basketball guy growing up. That was his sport. So about high school time, he kind of decided, it might be all right if you could play some basketball and rodeo. So I played basketball my sophomore year, and at that point I wanted the rodeo, and that's what I was doing. So I didn't play my junior year, and then I did play basketball again my senior year, while rodeoing and stuff. But, it was kind of different. Not a lot of beach, just a lot of horses, and then a little bit of basketball. Hawaii growing up, in school I didn't have any rodeo kids that were even in my school, so I'm sure that was a big influence. Everybody was talking all these other sports, and and I just wasn't playing them. So I think part of that was why I kind of quit the rodeo to go to sports. But I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter. I think anytime you're doing anything competitive, if you're a competitive person, you're gonna learn to win. And yeah, so every sport you play, it doesn't matter what it is, you're just going to learn different, whether it's mental techniques or different kind of training, practicing, and that all leads to, being able to be better in the rodeo arena for me. And one of the big things that actually my brother mentioned when I kind of started college, or I was in high school, and he was like, well, how many days are you going to basketball practice? I'm like, well, every day, of course, And he's like, well, how many days are you roping a dummy, or how many days are you practicing rodeo? And it's like, 2 or 3 days maybe, And it's like, well, what are you expecting there? Like, so it all, different sports are all going to help you be a better competitor. When I came back, it didn't take much. We were just kind of all in on back to rodeo. And I just hadn't done it for so long. And then I had all that, competitive drive. So I was working at it and, dedicated to it. Western cowboy culture, it is huge in Hawaii. There's a lot more ranching, a lot more cattle, a lot more cowboy, and all of that than everybody realizes. Everywhere I go, they're like, whether they even know there's cowboys in Hawaii, and then to what extent. And it's definitely deep rooted. I mean, it's way back, and there's a lot of extremely, obviously we call them like handy cowboys that can ranch with the best of them anywhere. But you know, they're not in arenas or not in any kind of limelight. They're just out there working. But if it comes to roping or catching something, you know, they can definitely get it done. And a lot of that even is what I picked up on growing up, just like the not quitting and getting the job done. That all stems from just that true like cowboy mentality. I mean, if you let go in Hawaii or like quit or something, I mean, it's probably going to hurt more when you get home. You know, you're just going to be, you know, you definitely, it's just like an all true cowboy thing. Even the rodeos, it's not really, we're there to compete and have fun, but you're definitely, you know, you got to get the job done, and that's big.
Eagle Eye Mechanical has been providing high-efficiency heating and air conditioning products in Santa Fe and northern New Mexico since 2016, using only the finest Mitsubishi and Trane equipment. We care about how your house looks and feels, so we specialize in installing systems out of the public eye as much as possible for both new and existing homes. From ERVs to replacing swamp coolers and furnaces with Mitsubishi air handlers, Eagle Eye Mechanical would love to provide you a free quote.
We're more than a store. We're more than a brand. We are the lifestyle. We are all things Western. NRS.
Hey everybody, Joe Beaver here. We're promoting Hart Trailers. We're talking about the product. Let's just get into it. From the first weld to the last inspection, we as Hart have done all we can do to guarantee you've got the best trailer your money can buy. They pull good. I don't have any trouble with them. They are user friendly. I want you to know that if you have a doubt one, don't buy it, because there's somebody else that's gonna buy it right behind you.
For the most part, we have your normal events, you know, from team roping and calf roping and, you know, rough stock. And then there's actually, I'm not sure if there's maybe more now or some of the other islands, but when I started, there was no rodeos. There's one rodeo that offered steer wrestling. There's no steer wrestlers really. We're trying to slowly change that, you know, now, but so steer wrestling was even kind of a random event. But we have pole YU, it's called, and double mugging. So they did double mugging in Reno there for a few years, and a lot of cowboys have seen that. But you have a cowboy that comes out, ropes a muley, steer, cow by the wrist around the neck, or anything really. But guy on the ground runs out there, has to get a hold of them, keep a hold of them while the cowboy on the horse jumps off with the rope, and then he runs over there to the right leg side and helps leg them down together, and then they got to get them tied. Pole YU, it's also muley cattle, which is about all we rope in Hawaii, but there's plastic horns put on them. And out in the middle of the arena is the pole with a big V, a Y in it, and you got to rope them slick horns. You'll be tied on to your saddle. Your rope you'll run up there. You'll have to put the rope through the Y, take your horse to the end of it, face them. They don't have to be faced, but that's kind of ideal, and that horse has to hold that steer against that pole, which is, you know, the illusion of a tree as far as roping cattle out in the wild. And then you go and you tie a non-choke knot. So just a special rope that has a loop and then like kind of two tails off of it. And you go around their neck and then around the pole. And that allows them to stay tied to a tree without choking. And essentially that will let you leave them tied there and go catch more of them. When we're branding, yeah, we rope and drag. We don't actually head and heel by any means. Usually we do kind of like a hula hand, but you hold the rope by the Honda, and then you'll be swinging backwards. And when you go to actually rope, if one's out in front of you, when you go to rope them, you'll hold on to the Honda and you'll just feed rope into your loop, kind of get them hooked around the neck, and then you'll walk them through it, and then you'll kind of pull that slack and then drag them. So, you know, I mean, obviously you could heel them if you wanted, but the Hawaiian way is kind of doing it like that. My dad was born and raised in Hawaii, right there in Hilo. And my mom was born in California, and she kind of moved around. My grandpa on my mom's side was military, and they moved, you know, a couple different spots. But she was born in California, and then eventually she moved to Hawaii, kind of following some work after she graduated. And, you know, that's kind of how she met my dad there in Hawaii. My dad, there is like an article too from back when my dad was a kid of him like roping calves. And so he grew up in it. My grandpa on my dad's side, I believe, was even the president of the horse club then. And my dad grew up in it a little bit. I don't think they did a whole lot of cowboy necessarily, but there was the horse racing and the rodeo, and so he was around horses growing up. And my mom, I don't believe much at all, I think. You know, but they might have had some cows as a hobby or something around, but they had that rodeo started probably 2 or 3 years before I was born. But I think around the time I was born was when my dad took it over and became the president of the club that put on the rodeo. So it was all right around that time that, or I might have been a couple years old, but yeah, it was when I was born, we were, you know, fully into putting on the rodeo. As far as putting on the rodeo, it was always, you know, just whatever needed done for the most part. Whatever I was told to do growing up. A lot of just running around, and then a lot of setting everything up. When we were smaller, just when I was a kid, the club didn't have like much money, so we would have to set up tents and do concessions and, you know, fencing for security. I mean, we did everything to, you know, when the rodeo's done, me and 10 buddies are under the bleachers picking up all the trash. You know, it was all in-house. But as it got kind of more successful and they started to get some help and sponsorships, we were able to, you know, kind of send those duties to some other, you know, people as needed. But it was a lot of work. My dad was very into kind of right in the county about we need to do this or we need to do that. And so like any of these facilities, there my senior year, or maybe it was even my junior year, but he got the county to buy like all new panels to rebuild this arena, the county arena. Well, by then I'd already started welding a little bit. Well, it turned into I was out there every day welding. The panels didn't fit just right for the post and all this, so I was welding kind of rings and attaching all these panels on this whole arena and rebuilding a lot of it. And that, you know, and I just never really got tired of it. I really was enjoying welding, and that's where I decided, man, I think welding's kind of where, you know, I want to be or want to go. So that gave me that direction as far as go to college, get a welding degree, get certified, etc. So yeah, I always had, that was always realistically kind of what I was going to do was, you know, go be a welder. So.
Who says time travel isn't possible? That you can't go back 400 years in a single afternoon to a place where free spirits still run free, where things made by hand make memories, where a getaway feels like you're getting a world away. There are so many things that make this city different, and so much more waiting to be uncovered.
Big Boy Toys.
My name is Amberly Snyder. I am a barrel racer and motivational speaker. Hart put together a trailer that is extremely accessible to me, that makes it possible for me to have more independence with my horses. I mean, truly something that is life-changing for me. If I'm gonna load my horse in a trailer, if I'm gonna take my horse somewhere, if I'm gonna put my best friend in a situation, they deserve the best. That's why I pull a Hart trailer.
During the summers, I would come up and stay with my brother up in Walla Walla and kind of travel with them to all the rodeos, amateur rodeos, circuit rodeos. And then I would just basically ride around, and then I'd enter some team roping jackpots here and there when I could. And that was the real selling point for me as far as rodeoing. You know, I knew I wanted to kind of rodeo. I didn't know what that entailed at all. But once I started hanging out with them in them summers, you know, drive all night, rodeo to rodeo, I mean, God, it was a blast. I would just stay up all night. I couldn't get over the fact that, you know, sun would set, then we'd be driving and the sun would rise and I'd never fall asleep, and just, you know, I guess that kind of started it, the animal there for rodeo. Through college rodeo and then some amateur rodeoing, the events kind of, you know, knocked off. I didn't have a great calf horse in college, so I started team roping a lot more. And then, but all the while I'm team roping and I'm bulldogging, and then now I'm winning more and more into bulldogging. So we're going to these amateur rodeos and team roping, bulldogging while I'm making money bulldogging. So it starts, you know, you're basically a bulldogger now. So kind of start hanging up the ropes, start bulldogging a lot more. And by the time I was done college, yeah, I was just entering like circuit rodeos and amateur rodeos just as a bulldogger. And that was, you know, just kind of where that was. But I'd wanted to rodeo, but obviously, you know, you got to make a living. Had the welding degree, so right out of college, I got a pretty good job welding. I was welding for an ironworking company out of Washington, and you know, that was actually pretty fun. A good adrenaline rush for 2-3 stories high, you know, welding. I mean, but of course, the rodeo was just always, you know, what I wanted to do. And lucky enough to BJ Terusio, who I was traveling with up there, he talked to Ethan Thuvenal, who had made the finals that year. And I was just like, hey, you know, I don't know how the conversation went, but basically it was like, got this kid that wants to go rodeo, and Ethan was like, yeah, come on. So basically just packed up everything I had, headed out, and had a blown up truck at the time. My head gasket was blown up, and you know, I had 4 or 5 horses, and I was just gonna go, and that was pretty much the start of that. So I won the region college rodeo and went to college finals, won around at the college finals. And then, you know, obviously just kind of circuit amateur rodeo, and got in with Ethan. And then that year, my it would have been my rookie year. But I come cross paths with Casey Jones in Bremerton, and their rig had just broke down. They lost an axle. They're, you know, trying to make the finals rodeoing, and I was like, well, I got a small trailer. It's just sitting over there at the house. If you guys need something, well, Casey took me up on it. He's like, oh, really? You know, that might work. And so he goes and grabs my trailer, and they go rodeoing for the rest of the month or so. And, you know, obviously he gets back to me and he's like, hey, you ever come down to Texas? You know, come bulldog, come hang out. And I was like, well, you might have messed up there, because got his number, and basically that winter I just called him, showed up, and I just went to bulldogging, and that was the place to be. If you wanted the bulldog, he'd just keep running him up, practicing, have horses, and that was huge for me, just getting around, you know, top caliber guys. That's what it's all about. And you know, I still, you know, by all means, I probably didn't have any business being entered out, you know, going to these big pro rodeos, but you know, that's one way to do it for sure, is just kind of keep at it. So that was the big step, was kind of getting in with him and just getting around the NFR guys and practicing with them. When you get out there, you're kind of busy, getting pulled some different directions, and you have to take that time to actually get focused before your runs in the rodeo. And then afterwards, it's also, I mean, boy, it's a long 10 days, but man, it's fast. When that last day hits, it's like, shit, we're done, so, I thought we were just getting started. And, that's first year, and we're going to, keep at it and keep, there'll be next year. But, yeah, so definitely looking back now, it's crazy to think. It's like, man, that was, feels like a lifetime ago. Definitely, a dream. And just now a lot of it's getting older and working, but trying to help, especially Tryson, who I've kind of helped since high school. And, hopefully he can take it to the next level. Like at once, you kind of hopefully create that path or make that way. And then, one of the biggest, proudest things for me really is that, like, let kids in Hawaii or anywhere, kind of try to help them, like, if he can do it, I can, or, like a lot of different milestones. When somebody does it, it can get repeated. So, when I got to go with my brother when he was in college and I was just in high school, or even we would go to high school finals or go with him to those rodeos during the summers, it was extremely eye-opening, just like getting those experiences and see how things are done. And so, yeah, I always felt like I had learned that. So now, I understood that if I could do it, or when I did it, that, it had to be big for, and I obviously rodeo is what we're at, but even kids that are doing other sports, I mean, the world, or coming up to the mainland, it's not that far of a stretch. It's made me just super, just eye-opened on the world. I mean, people, amazing, good people. And I think that, with all that traveling and all the unknown, like, where you're staying or how you're going or breaking down and horses getting sick, it just really, numbs you in a way to, like, the rest of life, to where, like, hey, it's going to be okay. If this happens, we'll just go do this, or, something breaks, or something's not going right, or you're late. It makes a lot of life issues, they're obviously different or bigger even, but you just know we're just going to manage this and you're going to be fine. And it's, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. Because out here, we just talked to some guys that are up tonight, and they lost their transmission about three hours away. So the trouble you run into out here living on the road is just kind of never ending. So as far as taking that into the real world and living life, it makes that part of it, a little easier and manageable. This year has essentially been a big changing year for me. I'm not going to very many rodeos, no real plans to rodeo much this summer. I'm calling it a little bit of a big light tour. Like here, I'm entered in Napa and Reno and St. Paul, but that's kind of just those, and then some circuit rodeos. So I've officially moved down to Arizona. I started a construction business. I have a contractor's license for commercial residential. I got engaged in January, and so life's definitely taken a little bit of a different turn. But no real plans to stop going to rodeos or stop steer wrestling. Just now I'm in the Arizona or turquoise circuit, so going to new rodeos or even like Santa Fe, where I haven't made it a whole lot, needing to come to these. So it's been a big year, big changing, but it's just kind of that time you need to do something. And yeah, so try to get a successful construction business going and see where that goes.